My name is Mira Caldwell, and I was 34 years old when my family erased my face from the birthday photo that paid their mortgage. Not blurred, not hidden by accident. Cropped out so cleanly that only the edge of my sleeve remained beside the cake, like proof that I had been useful enough to stand there, but not pretty enough to stay. I found the photo the next morning on Caldwell and Harth's Instagram page under a caption my mother wrote herself. Family is the brand. Love is the light. By noon, 42,000 people had liked it. By dinner, 3 sponsors had shared it. And by midnight, my cousin had texted me a screenshot with one sentence that made my hand go cold. See? The feed looks better without you. That would have been bad enough. But the thing my family never understood about pictures is that photographs remember who made them, even when people pretend not to. 1 hour after I read that message, I opened a folder on my old hard drive named Candlelight Test Shoot, and inside it were 6 years of proof. Raw files, editing layers, product shots, metadata, lighting diagrams, contract emails. Every golden kitchen, every laughing porch scene, every perfect family photo that had turned my parents' little home decor page into a national lifestyle brand had been made by the daughter they kept cropping from the frame. They sold warmth with my light. They sold family with my hands. They sold beauty while making sure nobody had to look at me. And before that week was over, a copyright lawyer named Helen Marlowe sat across from me in a coffee shop, slid a printed screenshot across the table, and said the sentence that changed everything. Mira, they didn't just insult you. They built a business on work they never owned. But before I tell you what happened when every ad, every reel, every website banner, and every sponsored image started disappearing from their brand overnight, you need to understand how a person can be inside a family for 34 years and still be treated like bad lighting. Welcome back to Hidden Family Revenge, where the quietest person in the room is often the one holding the original file. If you have ever been laughed at, used, hidden, or treated like your work mattered more than your face, stay with me. And if stories about family betrayal, creative ownership, and hard boundaries speak to you, subscribe, because this one starts with a cropped photo and ends with a takedown notice. The birthday party was for my mother, Prue Caldwell, 61 years old, silver hair styled like a magazine editor, white linen dress, pearl earrings, and a talent for turning cruelty into hospitality. Caldwell and Harth had rented a vineyard outside Franklin, Tennessee for the afternoon because the brand had outgrown backyard birthdays. That was how my father said it. The brand had outgrown normal life. There were eucalyptus garlands across the tables, lemon cakes on slate boards, rented grandchildren from relatives placed carefully near sunlit windows, and a photographer my brother Porter had hired for the guests. Not for the products, not for the campaign shots. That was still my job. I spent the first 2 hours adjusting candles, steaming napkins, moving ceramic pitchers 2 inches left, and waiting for someone to remember that I had come as a daughter, not staff. That was the trick my family perfected over the years. They never said I was not family. They just gave me work every time family was being photographed. Mira, fix the shadows. Mira, check the color temperature. Mira, can you move behind the camera for 1 second? Mira, you understand the brand. By then, I understood it too well. Caldwell and Harth sold soft blankets, farmhouse mugs, old recipe cards, hand-poured candles, and the idea that the Caldwell family lived inside a permanent hour of golden sunset. My mother was the face. My father Leland was the steady Southern patriarch. Porter, handsome and useless in the way some men are rewarded for, ran partnerships. My younger sister Willa held babies, laughed at nothing, and looked effortless doing it. And I made the whole thing look true. Near sunset, they gathered for the hero shot. That is what Porter called it, because everything in his life had a marketing name. Mother in the middle, Dad behind her, Willa on one side, Porter on the other. Cousins tucked in like flowers. I was carrying a reflector under one arm and my camera under the other when Aunt Celia waved me in. "Mira, get in one," she said, and for one strange second the whole world softened. I stepped forward. I actually stepped forward. I was wearing a navy dress I had bought with the foolish hope that if I looked simple enough, quiet enough, correct enough, no one would have to apologize for me. Then my cousin, Sloane Bexley, laughed from behind the wine table and said, clear enough for the photographer to lower his camera, "Come on. Mira ruins the aesthetic. There are rooms where everybody laughs because something is funny. And there are rooms where everybody laughs because not laughing would cost them their place." My family chose the second kind. My mother looked down at her cake. My father rubbed his jaw. Porter smiled like a man approving a difficult business decision. Willa whispered, "Sloane," but not strongly enough to turn it into a defense, and I stood there with the reflector still under my arm, understanding that my face had become a brand problem. The photographer took the picture without me. Then Porter turned, bright and practical, and said, "Mira, can you grab a few behind-the-scenes shots for reels before the light dies?" That is how my family worked. They wounded you, then handed you a task before you could bleed on the floor. A comment like that does not begin at a birthday party. It grows quietly, watered by years of smaller sentences. When I was 13, my grandmother told me I had an interesting face, which is what polite women say when they cannot find pretty. At 16, my mother said makeup was about softening what God made strong. At 22, after I came home from art school with a secondhand camera and a student loan, Porter told me photography was perfect for me because I had a better eye than presence. I carried those sentences the way other women carry scars under sleeves. And because I could not make myself beautiful to them, I made beautiful things for them instead. Caldwell and Hearth began on our kitchen table with 8 candles, 3 chipped mugs, and my mother's talent for telling strangers that ordinary things were heirlooms. I shot the first product photos in the pantry because the window there faced east. I used flour sacks as backdrops, my father's old fishing line to hang greenery, and a cracked mirror to bounce light onto the labels. The first month, we sold 73 candles. The second month, a blogger shared one of my photos and called it domestic poetry. My mother printed the post and taped it to the fridge. She did not tape my name under it. Back then, I told myself that did not matter. Family was family. The brand was ours. I was the quiet engine under the hood, and engines are not supposed to need applause. For 6 years, the engine ran. I shot fall campaigns while my family posed in sweaters they did not pay for. I edited Christmas reels until 3 in the morning while Porter slept through sponsor deadlines and woke up calling himself creative director. I created the Lightroom presets that made every Caldwell window look like mercy. I built the visual guide, the flat lay system, the product archive, the email banners, the ad images, the warm shadows, the cream highlights, the honest-looking clutter that was never honest. My family called it our signature look. They used that phrase in interviews. Our signature look. And every time I heard it, something small in me raised its hand and was told to sit back down. The part nobody knew was that I had learned one thing from art school better than lighting. Files have memory. Cameras store authorship. Editing programs leave trails. Every raw image I shot carried metadata. Every layered file had my name buried in its history. Every email from Porter saying, "Send me the final edits by noon," was still in my archive because I was the kind of woman who kept receipts, even when I did not yet have the courage to read them. And 3 years before the birthday party, after a sponsor tried to reuse my images on packaging without asking, I had quietly registered a bulk collection of my photographs with the Copyright Office. I did not do it to hurt my family. I did it because some tired part of me wanted one place in the world where my name could not be cropped out. After the party, I drove home with cake I had not eaten and humiliation sitting beside me like another passenger. By morning, the official photo was everywhere. The family around the table, my mother glowing. The cake lit perfectly because I had moved it there. My navy sleeve cut clean from the left edge. Then came the caption, "Family is the brand. Love is the light." I stared at that sentence until it changed shape. Family is the brand. Love is the light. What was I then? The extension cord? The ladder? The ugly lamp nobody shows but everyone uses? If you are listening to this and you have ever been the useful one, the one behind the camera, the one asked to help and then hidden when credit came, tell me in the comments how long it took you to realize being needed is not the same as being loved. The first thing I did was nothing. That matters. Revenge stories make it sound like dignity arrives with a soundtrack. Mine arrived in sweatpants with cold coffee and a shaking hand. I opened the company website and counted. Homepage banner. Mine. Product category images. Mine. Holiday lookbook. Mine. Brand story page. Mine. Except for the one family photo where I had been replaced by a vase. Instagram grid. Mine for 6 years. Pinterest ads. Mine. Email pop-ups. Mine. Sponsored campaign for Bramble and Cody's. Mine. National ad for their Hearthline candle set. Mine. The more I counted, the less angry I became. Not because it hurt less, but because numbers have a way of turning fog into weather reports. This was not one insult. This was an industry built over my absence. Helen Marlowe was not the kind of lawyer my family imagined women like me had access to. She did not wear black. She wore green reading glasses and carried a canvas bag with a broken zipper. I found her through an artist group I had joined years earlier and never posted in. She ordered tea, opened my hard drive, and spent 20 minutes saying almost nothing. That is how I knew it was bad. Lawyers talk when facts are weak. When facts are strong, they get very quiet. Finally, she looked at me and asked, "Were you an employee?" I said no. "Did you sign a work-for-hire agreement?" No. "Did you license these images to the company in writing?" No. "Did they credit you anywhere?" I laughed because my body did not know what else to do. Helen nodded once. "Then they have a brand problem. We did not start with the nuclear option. That is important too." I wrote my family an email. Not emotional, not dramatic, just a clean request. I asked them to credit my work properly, sign a licensing agreement for future use, pay a fair retroactive fee for commercial campaigns, and remove the birthday caption. I gave them 7 days. I remember pressing send and feeling almost embarrassed by how reasonable I was. That old disease again. Even with proof in my hand, I still wanted to leave them a bridge wide enough to drive their pride across. Porter answered in 11 minutes. His reply was one line. "You can't copyright being part of a family." My father called after that. Leland Caldwell did not raise his voice often. He did not need to. He had built a whole household around the low disappointment in his throat. "Mira," he said, "your mother is crying." I waited for the rest because there is always a rest. This brand feeds people. It pays Willa's mortgage. It pays your mother's medical insurance. It keeps this family standing. Do you really want to punish everyone because Sloan made a stupid joke? And there it was. The old switch. Turn theft into sensitivity. Turn humiliation into misunderstanding. Turn my boundary into a threat against the family. I asked him if he had read the licensing terms I sent. He sighed like I had asked him to carry a sofa uphill. "You were always better behind the camera," he said. "Don't make yourself look bitter by stepping in front of it now." That sentence did something different to me. It did not break my heart. It organized it. I wrote it down, dated it, and sent Helen the email chain. She responded with 4 words. "Then we do this." The first notices went out on a Tuesday morning at 9:17. Not to my family first. To the platforms. To the website host. To the ad network. To the email marketing service. To 3 sponsors using my registered images in active campaigns. Copyright law is not romantic. It does not care whether your mother cried. It asks a colder question. Who owns the work? And for the first time in my life, the answer was not Caldwell and Hearth. It was me. The takedowns began like lights going out in a house during a storm. First, the homepage banner vanished, replaced by a gray error box where my mother's perfect kitchen used to be. Then Instagram muted 2 reels. Then the holiday lookbook links failed. Then a sponsored ad disappeared from Facebook halfway through a paid campaign. By noon, Porter was posting from the brand account about a technical issue. By 2, Bramble and Company paused their collaboration. By 4, the website host requested documentation proving Caldwell and Hearth had rights to the disputed images. And by 6, my mother texted me for the first time since the birthday party. Just 3 words. What did you do? I did not answer. Not because I was cruel, because I had spent 34 years answering every question as if my speed could prove my worth. That night, I cooked soup, turned off my phone, and slept badly, but honestly. The next morning, the brand page looked like a mouth missing teeth. Blank spaces everywhere. Product pages without products. Blog posts without photos. Ads disabled. Pinterest boards flagged. Sponsors asking questions in comment sections before the comments got turned off. Caldwell and Hearth had always looked effortless, because I had spent years making effort invisible. Once my work disappeared, the whole illusion stood there naked under fluorescent light. Then came the family meeting. They did not invite me to my mother's birthday photo, but they invited me to the emergency. Porter sent the calendar link. Subject line: brand resolution discussion. Not family. Brand. I almost admired the honesty. We met in their office, which used to be our garage before money turned it into exposed beams and linen curtains. My mother sat at the long table with red eyes and perfect lipstick. My father stood by the window. Porter had 3 folders in front of him, which meant he planned to perform competence. Willa sat at the end, pale and quiet. Sloan was there too, because people who start fires often enjoy watching smoke. Porter opened with numbers: lost ad spend, paused sponsor payments, website conversion drop, estimated damages. He said damages like I was a storm and not the person whose work had been taken. Then he slid a paper toward me. A family settlement, he called it. I would withdraw the copyright claims, grant Caldwell and Hearth full use of all existing images, and agree not to make public statements. In exchange, they would add my name to a small contributor page on the website and give me a creative family bonus of $5,000. $5,000 for 6 years of images that had sold candles in all 50 states. $5,000 and a digital closet to stand in. I looked at the paper, then at him. You cropped me out of the picture, I said, so I removed the picture. The room went still in a way I will remember longer than I should. My mother whispered my name like I had dropped a plate in church. My father's face hardened. Porter laughed once, the same short laugh men use when math has failed them and volume is all they have left. You are going to destroy this family because you didn't feel pretty in a photo? He said. That was the moment Willa looked up. Not when they insulted me, not when the ads disappeared. Then, because even Willa, soft Willa, understood the cruelty of reducing 6 years of labor to one wounded feeling. I opened my bag and took out a printed sheet Helen had prepared. 48 registered image collections, 912 edited commercial files, 306 active or recent marketing uses. My name on every registration, my authorship in every file. No, I said, I'm stopping this family from destroying me and calling it branding. Here is the thing about public humiliation. People think the revenge is making the people who hurt you feel the same pain. It is not. The real revenge is making the truth too organized to deny. Helen filed the formal demand 2 days later. Retroactive licensing fees, removal of unlicensed images, accounting for revenue tied to campaigns built on my work, public correction on the brand website and social channels. Porter called it extortion. Helen called it Tuesday. Sponsors called it risk. And risk in business is just shame with a calculator. For 1 week, my family tried to replace me. That was the funniest sad thing I have ever watched. Porter hired a young photographer named Calvin Rusk on a rush contract and gave him my old visual guide without my name on it. Calvin called me the next day. He was 26, polite, and smart enough to know stolen homework when it landed in his inbox. "Ms. Caldwell," he said, "did you write a document called the Hearth Light System?" I closed my eyes. Of course they had sent him that too. The lighting guide. The one I built over years. Page by page, window by window, candle by candle. "Yes," I said. He was quiet for a second. "Then I think you should know they removed your name from the footer." Another file. Another proof. Another nail nobody meant to hand me. By then the story had started traveling. Not because I posted. I still had not written a single public word. It traveled because blank ads make noise. Because sponsors ask questions. Because photographers talk. Because someone in Porter's office leaked a screenshot of the internal message where he wrote, "Keep Mira out of all visuals going forward. Her look dilutes the premium family angle." I read that line in Helen's office, and for a moment I was 13 again, standing under bathroom light while my mother explained softening. "Her look dilutes the premium family angle." Helen asked if I needed a minute. I said no, but my voice came from very far away. The internet did what the internet does. Some people were kind. Some people were hungry. Some people turned my pain into a slogan before I had even swallowed it. Caldwell and Hearth posted a statement about a private family disagreement being exploited through legal channels. My mother signed it. That hurt more than Porter's sentence. Not because I expected better, but because some child in me still kept a chair empty for it. Then Sloane, who apparently had learned nothing from the first fire, commented from her personal account. "Some people want credit for holding a camera near prettier people." The comment stayed up for 12 minutes. Long enough. That was the day I finally spoke. Not in a rant. Not in tears. I posted one image on my own account. A split screen. On the left, the birthday photo with my sleeve cropped at the edge. On the right, the raw file data from one of Caldwell and Hearth's biggest campaigns, showing my name, my camera, my date, my copyright registration. The caption was 6 sentences. I wrote that I had created the photography behind Caldwell and Hearth for years without credit or contract. I wrote that I had asked privately for correction. I wrote that copyright is not revenge, it is ownership. I wrote that no family has the right to make someone invisible and then sell what they made. And at the end, I wrote the only line that mattered. You cropped me out of the picture, so I removed the picture. If you are still here, subscribe, because this is the part where people think justice suddenly feels clean. It does not. Justice feels like standing in a room full of broken glass and being grateful the window is finally open. The post went everywhere. Photographers shared it. Older women wrote me messages about quilts, recipes, church bulletins, family businesses, unpaid care, invisible labor. Men wrote too, quieter, telling me about shops they built under fathers who called them helpers. The story stopped being about my face. It became what it had always been about: work, credit, ownership. The long theft people dress up as family. The sponsor withdrawals came faster after that. Bramble and Company terminated. Larkspur Home paused. Haven Table requested an audit. The big one, a department store partnership Porter had spent 18 months chasing, went cold within 48 hours. Caldwell and Hearth could still sell products, but not with my images, not with my style guide, not with my archive, not with the illusion that the family glow had appeared out of nowhere. Their revenue did not collapse overnight. Real life is rarely that theatrical. It bled, slowly, publicly, in neat little lines on spreadsheets Porter finally had to understand. My father came to my apartment on a Sunday because men like him believe Sunday makes hard things softer. He looked older than he had 2 weeks before. Not weak, just less edited. He stood in my doorway holding a cardboard box of hard drives and memory cards from the office. "Your things," he said. I let him bring them in. He set the box on my table and looked around my small living room like he was searching for evidence that I had suffered enough to satisfy him. Then he said, "Your mother won't leave the house." I did not answer. "Porter says we may have to rebrand." Still, I did not answer. Finally, the real sentence came. "What do you want from us, Mira?" I had imagined that question for years. In my imagination, I had speeches. In real life, I had tired bones and tea going cold on the counter. "I wanted you to stop being ashamed of me," I said. My father looked away, and in that small movement I got the answer he had never been brave enough to say out loud. He was ashamed. Maybe not every day. Maybe not in a villain way, but enough. Enough to let me stand behind the camera. Enough to let Porter cut me from campaigns. Enough to hear Sloan call me ugly with better vocabulary and decide silence was cheaper than defense. He rubbed his hand over his mouth and said, "The brand needed a certain look." There it was. Not an apology. An autopsy. The final negotiation happened in a conference room downtown with a glass wall and no warmth at all. Their side, Porter, my father, my mother, and a business attorney with a silver watch. My side, Helen, me, and a folder thick enough to have its own weather. Willa came too, not on either side, she said, which was the first honest thing anyone in my family had said all month. Caldwell and Harth offered money first. More than $5,000 this time. A number meant to quiet me, not pay me. Helen rejected it before I could soften. Then they offered a credit line. Then a private apology. Then a mutual statement. Every offer had the same shape. They wanted the pictures back without putting the truth in the frame. My counteroffer was simple. They would permanently stop using my unlicensed work. They would pay a retroactive licensing settlement on a schedule secured by the company's receivables. They would issue a public correction naming me as the original photographer and visual creator of the brand's foundational campaigns. They would delete the stolen style guide from their systems, and the family birthday post would come down. My mother flinched at that last one. Not the money, not the public correction, the photo, because that picture was the whole lie in one frame, the perfect family arranged around a missing daughter. "You're asking us to humiliate ourselves," Porter said. I looked at him for a long moment. "No," I said. "I'm asking you to stop using my humiliation as marketing." My mother cried then, quietly, beautifully, in the way she did everything. For once, it did not move me fast enough to save her. She said she never meant for it to go this far. I believed her. That is the difficult part. Most harm in families is not planned like a robbery. It is practiced like a habit. One person steps back. Everyone gets used to the space. One person works for free. Everyone calls it love. One person disappears from the photo. Everyone says the picture looks balanced. My mother did not invent the cruelty alone. She just decorated it. They signed before sunset. Not because they were sorry, because sponsors were waiting, lawyers were counting, and the internet had learned how to zoom. The public correction went up the next morning. For 6 years, much of Caldwell and Harth's original photography and visual direction was created by Mira Caldwell. We regret not properly crediting or licensing her work. It was stiff, legal, bloodless, and still the most honest thing the brand had ever posted. The birthday photo came down. The website stayed half empty for months. Porter stopped calling himself creative director in interviews. My mother stopped using the phrase, family is the brand. My father mailed the first settlement check with no note. From him, that was almost poetry. And me? I did not become famous in the way people imagine. I did not get a makeover montage. I did not suddenly become beautiful to the people who had trained themselves not to see me. Something better happened. I became visible to myself. I opened a small studio called Uncropped Light in a brick building above a bakery, and my first clients were women over 60 who said they had not liked a photo of themselves in 20 years. I photographed hands with rings worn thin, faces with lines earned honestly, gray hair, soft arms, strong noses, tired eyes, living bodies. I learned that beauty is not a face that fits the frame. Beauty is what happens when nobody in the room is trying to remove you from it. Willa comes by sometimes, slowly, carefully. We are not healed in the way holiday movies heal people. We drink coffee. We talk around the crater. Once, she brought me an old campaign catalog and pointed to a candlelit table I had shot in our childhood kitchen. I always thought Mom made it look like that, she said. I smiled because I did not want to cry. No, I said. I did. She touched the page like it had changed temperature. I'm sorry I didn't see it. That apology did not fix everything, but it was the first family sentence in years that did not hand me a job at the end. As for Caldwell and Hearth, it survived, smaller and colder. That is the truth. Villains do not always vanish. Sometimes they pivot. Sometimes they hire new photographers and call the new look cleaner. Sometimes relatives still whisper that I took things too far. Sloane tells people I ruined a family business because I was insecure. Maybe she believes it. People like her often mistake cruelty for clarity, but the check's clear. The correction remains archived. The stolen files are gone. And every time someone searches the brand's old campaigns, my name sits where they never wanted it. Attached. Here is what I know now that I did not know when I stood beside that birthday cake with a reflector under my arm. Being useful is not the same as being valued. Being needed is not the same as being loved. And if people only want you behind the camera, make sure you own the negative. My family thought cropping me out would make their picture perfect. They forgot that I was the one who took the picture. They forgot that light has a source. And they forgot that a woman who has spent years making everyone else look good has usually learned exactly where the shadows are. That is my story. A birthday photo. A stolen brand. A hard drive full of proof. A family that sold my work while hiding my face. I did not take their brand down because they called me ugly. I took it down because they used that ugliness as an excuse to steal the beautiful things I made. If you have ever been edited out of a story you helped build, tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And subscribe to Hidden Family Revenge, because next week's story is about a daughter they left out of the will until the will left everything out of them.